All right. Hey, everybody. Low Faber here, Dr. Low, and welcome to my new interview series, Conversations about Music with Musicians. And I'm having so much fun doing these interviews, and I'm real glad that you're here to watch them. I want to say, as always, please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you haven't done so already, and if you like this kind of content. And also, please check out my twice weekly live streams. I'm on every Sunday afternoon at 3 p.m., every Thursday evening at 8 p.m., and those are Eastern times. And you can see the streams for free on YouTube and on Facebook. And please be sure to check out my guests' music as well. I'll be sure to post some links in the video description so you can check out their music beyond just what you hear in the interview. All right, enjoy. All right, John Rango, how you doing, man?
I'm good, man. How are you? Good afternoon.
I'm real good, and you are coming to us from your house in Jersey, northern Jersey,
New
right?
Jersey. Very cold New Jersey this morning.
Oh, really? Okay. Well,
Oh, yes.
it's a real. It is a warm but overcast day here in New Orleans. It's in the low 70s, which is
Okay.
pretty nice.
That sounds more like early morning San Diego weather than anything.
Yeah.
Overcast and 70.
So you ready to talk about music?
I always am. I feel like today more in particular.
Okay.
Well,
yeah. My guest today is my friend John Rango, and John is a musician, guitar player, singer, and songwriter. And I met him because he's also a longtime fan of God Street Wine, and then in the post God Street Wine period, when I was doing some gigs in northern New Jersey, I think we played a few times together, and then in more recent years, he's been a very strong supporter in the God Street Wine reunion era and for my music. And I just wanted to say that I appreciate that all very much. And John is also
I appreciate your music, man.
John is like me, a native of New Jersey and of Sicilian descent, so we have a lot in common. And
That's right. That's right.
This is going to be a very particular kind of conversation about music because it's going to be focused on one song. And so the genesis for this video, if you remember, John, is I released a series of song and story videos where I talked about some of the early God Street Wine songs and how I wrote them. And then in each video, I played a little solo version of the song. And you mentioned that I should do one for Weird Dream, which is your favorite song, you said. And I said, well, why don't you do that video together with me? And so here we are.
That's right.
And so, you want to tell us in your own words, Weird Dream, why is that your favorite song? Why that one, John?
It's, you've asked me before. I don't know if I have a particular answer, but I guess I really love the beginning chords of the song.
Sure.
I feel like it's completely different than anything going on in the rest of the tune. And it's also they're just very nice sounding, beautiful chords. That's very inviting. And it ends up in a, in a kind of rock jammy type of thing for the rest of the song, just to come back to these orderly chord progressions. It's really, I think that's what makes it my favorite song, because it really takes you, it's very, comforting on the ear to hear those types of harmonies and those different sounds going on in the beginning. Mm-hmm. And then to just kind of forget, then you don't have to think for a couple of the minutes of the song because you have an improvisational rock jam going on. So I really love how the two, I guess, methodologies are kind of married together, because I feel like those have become my favorite God Street Wine songs.
Now,
That one in particular.
I have another question for you, which is, so God Street Wine never recorded this song. We never, recorded it in the studio.
That was going to be one of my questions for you. So please go on. Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
My question was going to be, so are you familiar with the song, and first and foremost from seeing us play it live?
Well, I was handed a tape in August of 1995. It had Weird Dream and 615 on it. That was another song I really, equate to Weird Dream. But yeah, so I heard it first on a tape, and then it took a long time for me to actually see it played live.
Oh, okay. So
yeah,
so you knew it from a live recording, and then much later you heard us actually play it live, because we didn't play it very often.
I think the first time I heard it was the very last show at Wetlands, like 12/23/99. Yeah.
Okay. And did it live up to your expectations at that point?
it sure did, because I mean, it was, what a great show that was, and what an awesome time that was that night. But to hear it pulled out within the first couple of songs made it just a special time to hear it, and it was perfect.
Well, I really appreciate your thoughts and any other thoughts that you have, because I've noticed over the years that some of the big God Street Wine fans will have some favorite song that is like not necessarily one of our best known songs, and they're just very attached to it. And as I get older and try to find some wisdom as a musician, I really want to try to, understand what it is about these less known songs that appeals to people. But I thought maybe for our viewers who might not be familiar with the song, I would play a little mini version. So just so we're
awesome.
And so we know what we're talking about with this song, Weird Dream.
Of course.
So I'm gonna attempt to play the intro, which, as you just pointed out, is complicated, and then I'll play like a verse and chorus of the song.
Sounds great.
All right. In the kitchen, someone's cooking. They're stirring up some nasty medicine. Mama's sleeping till the sun goes down. When the clock strikes midnight, she'll be downtown. And I'm a crazy Cherokee, just like on TV. Just another soldier in your army. Do you think I'm real or just a lie? Your tears would cut me like a sharp knife. Why don't you stay back till the shooting's over? There'll be blood and fire in your big black eyes. There'll be bursts of color and some fancy action. Why don't you close your eyes? You'll be deep in your heavenly garden till you wake up, wake up, wake up to another weird dream. Check me out. And then we're into the second verse. So
Yeah,
that's how it goes. And maybe let's talk about the intro first.
sure.
Because the intro is
So
yeah, go ahead.
no, I'm sorry. I don't like to talk over anyone. So please go ahead.
Well, do you want to pick up a guitar and we'll play through the intro together and break it down?
Sure. I have to thank Aaron and yourself for really getting me through these chords.
Yeah.
So maybe I'll just play the chords rather than both parts at the same time.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine.
Nope, that's wrong.
Yeah. Okay. So that's a real good one. And you figured out these chords with a little help from Aaron and from me, right?
Yes.
And I would think that this would be a real hard one to learn by ear. You know, there's a lot going by in a very short space of time.
Yes.
So
That's what kind of really turned me on to the song in the first place.
well, I mean, you know, someone who is more critical might also say that that's a drawback. You know, that
Too much.
it's a little
Right.
I mean, I think one reason Gott's Rewind didn't play this that often is it is hard to play, and it's hard not just technically challenging, like, you know, it's not fast or anything, but it's hard to pull off and make it just right, you know. And then it's over in 15 seconds, you know. So you do all this work to learn
Right.
something, and then it only gets you 15 seconds of showtime. And you know, if you're playing in a bar, you know, half the audience didn't even notice it anyway, right?
Yeah, of course. And that was actually on a very short list of questions I had. Why wasn't it played more often? And did everybody enjoy the song when it was played? Or was it more of, oh my God, what a pain in the neck this is going to be to try to pull off this evening?
I think that I think we on the whole did enjoy playing the song, but the intro was often a stumbling block, you know, and we would there would be some clams in the intro sometimes. And then you know, I might get irritated because in those days I didn't have the same Zen calmness that I have now.
I had a feeling.
And so, you know, I'm embarrassed to say sometimes I wasn't always that patient with people making mistakes, which is not a good way to be. And but anyway, that's what that was like. And so
Sure.
you know, I was a bit of a perfectionist about the performance, and so I just felt like the intro not being played very well a lot of the time was, you know, we had a lot of other songs that we could play. And so Weird Dream, once we got into the jam, you know, that was always real fun. But then there was another issue with the jam, which, you know, was a God Street thing, was that sometimes the jam just developed into like too loud, too bashing for too long, we felt. And this wasn't just me, it was the whole band. Like, you know, we'd get excited live, but then we'd listen back and we'd hear ourselves just fucking, I can curse. It's my own YouTube channel.
You can curse.
We'd hear ourselves just fucking playing loud and fast, and you know, we'd say to ourselves, you know, we could have restrained ourselves a little bit. And so that was an issue with the jam part of Weird Dream too. But no, I mean, we liked it. I like it.
And I feel like that's I guess maybe a bad habit of a lot of bands. You know, you get into, once you're in a jam part and it's getting loud and it's getting fast, there's really nowhere else to go.
Right.
It's not breathing anymore. It's just, you know, it sounds like a mountain of noise. I feel like any band in the world could get to that level very easily, and unfortunately they usually do. Because they don't take the step back to reflect on it and learn. Yeah. Okay, there's really nowhere to go at this point.
No, it's not really even that hard to cure, you know, if you're
right.
a little bit conscious about trying to keep it a little bit restrained. And I think nowadays we could manage that. But you know, back in the day when we were a bunch of excitable 20-something-year-olds. You know, and we would feed off the energy of our audience too. You know, if they were,
of course,
and sometimes they would really love it. You know, if those really loud parts, if they're actually there live in the club, you know, they would be having a great moment right then. And it's only when we would listen back, you know, in the sort of like the next morning, we were like, we got a little carried away there.
Yeah.
But anyway, why don't we break down this intro in terms of chords? Because, you know, sure. I love to talk about chords. And
yes.
So what is the very first chord you're playing? Yeah.
Well, it wants to sound like a D, but it has an E bass.
Yeah.
And it has this note on it, or in it, rather.
The top note. What note is that?
Which is, I believe, a D flat.
Yeah, or C sharp. So
that's right.
So we have the low E string of the guitar, then we have another E, and then we have A, D, and F sharp, which, as you said, is a D triad, and then we have C sharp on top. So if you had to write a chord symbol for this chord, what would you write?
I'm really not one to write music, so
okay.
I mean, to write out music, so I'm unsure.
So I would say that it is an E7 sus 13.
Well, yes, I did see that on the top of sheet music for Weird Dream.
Yeah. But if you wanted to write it as D over E, sometimes that might be simpler too. And
right.
If you use the slash mark notation, it just means the D chord on top and an E in the bass. That's a perfectly fine way to write it out too. And the C sharp then is not really acknowledged in that notation, but the C sharp is the 13th, or you could say D major 7 over E, and that gets you to the same place, right?
And that 13th note is the one that really sticks out,
yeah.
I guess, to the ear. You know, it's that last note.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a third way of writing it is you could just write it as E7 sus 4, because there is a school of thought that says you should not necessarily write out every little extension in a chord. You should write it in the simplest possible way and then give the player the latitude to voice it or add color tones as they see fit. So anyway, the reason I'm going on about this chord is that, you know, I swear, John, I could do a 60-minute video where I just talk about this chord.
I'm sure you can.
But in this song, and particularly in this intro, it appears a lot, right? We're using
yes, it does,
all kinds of ways. But I just want to say that it's such a beautiful chord, really. And
it really is.
It has an unresolved nature to it, right? It doesn't feel like we're home. It feels like we're going somewhere from here.
Yes, that's right.
It's not if I just play E. Oh, here, we're home.
Yes, right.
And it's not just in the intro that this appears. It also appears later on in the chorus. Why don't you close your eyes? Right. When I sing "Close Your Eyes," we're actually going from the F version of this.
That's right. Just half step down.
Yeah.
And I think I asked you, I think I've heard you hit it twice. Or sometimes maybe 3 times in the won't you?
Yeah.
Close your eyes.
I think I now tend to go with the 3 times.
Right.
But yeah, you're right. I've gone back and forth on that. So anyway, so we've got this chord at the top, and we're playing this melody, which is made up of fourths, right? We've got this 2 little pairs of fourths, which is a very jazzy sound that I associate with like Bill Evans piano playing, or McCoy Tyner, using a lot of these fourths. Right. And the fourths,
which sounds great.
This melody lick is also going to appear, right? And then it's going to appear as,
and then the third time,
and then
yeah.
So that's actually going to be repeated starting on a bunch of different pitches, right?
Right.
So we've got E sus for the top, and then what are these next 2 chords?
D minor?
Actually, the bass note is G.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's just G major 7 to F sharp minor.
Yes, that's right.
And then we are going to...
It's that variation of A major, right?
Yeah, it's actually another sus chord. It's actually A7 sus, or A sus 9. So it's the same chord as the top of the song, a fourth above. Now we're doing it on A. But instead of the melody being a fourth higher, the melody is going down a whole step. So we're starting the melody on the 9th rather than on the 13th of the chord. And then where do we go?
I think we go back to this voicing, right? Twice. Am I playing that right?
Where do we go with the melody? So the second time,
all right, let's go.
The second time we hear the melody, it's on this A sus, right? And the melody starts on B.
Yes.
And then where do we go with the melody right there? Right. There you go. Yeah. And so this is different, right? This is what I'm trying to bring out here, is that this is we've gone to a different place now. And the kind of chord is different too, right? It's not a sus chord anymore. It's a major 7, a B major 7. And we're going to go, so that melody is repeated twice over the B major 7, and then, right?
Yes.
And we're going from a B major 7 to a B sus. So we're keeping the same root in the bass, but we're changing the quality of the chord, which is again something you'll hear a lot in Steely Dan.
Yes, right. And I remember we when we first talked about the intro of this song, you brought up Pat Metheny.
Yeah.
Somebody who I've never seen live, and somebody people have told me, please go see him as soon as you can.
Well, yeah, Pat Metheny is incredible in all his different kind of phases throughout his career. But, you know, maybe I should rewind a little bit and explain where I was musically when I wrote this back in 1990. You know, I was fresh out of my experience studying jazz at Manhattan School of Music, which is where I met Aaron and Dan, you know.
Sure.
And so I was, as a kid, as you know, I grew up playing like bluegrass music and then got into like Beatles and Grateful Dead and that kind of mainstream rock. But it wasn't until I went to college that I really started getting into jazz and more complicated harmony. And then when I did get into it, I got into it in a really big way. Like I just loved the idea of exploring harmony and complicated chords. And so that was the state of mind that I was in when I wrote Weird Dream and many of the other early God Street Wine songs. I'm sure you can think of some that have,
of course,
complicated chords. For me, I think of like Ladyfingers and God Street, the song God Street.
Yes.
And Imogene, even, you know. And so the influence was, you know, Steely Dan was a big influence because they were a band just like, you know, they were trying to do the same thing, which is to use all these complicated chords, but still have it be in a sort of rock and funky framework, right?
Sure.
And not in a swing vibe like in the jazz world. And
not easy to pull off, yeah. I feel like.
And Pat Metheny came into it in the same way, even though he wasn't a rock artist. He did use different grooves and different vibes than the straight jazz guys did. So he had a real interest in Latin grooves, and he had a certain even like new agey aspect to his sound, but always with a lot of energy. And
right.
You know, both for Aaron and I as guitar players, really interested in his voicings, his melodies, even the songwriting on his first album, his very first album, Bright Size Life, which is just a trio album, guitar, bass, and drums. You ever heard that?
No.
Oh yeah, check it out, man, because it's it's so clear because it's just a trio album. So you just hear guitar, bass, and drums, and you hear the sort of chordal ideas. They're really just right out front. And so, you know, that was another big influence on the writing on some of this stuff like Weird Dream.
Very cool.
So anyway, where was I? We had just gone from B major 7 to B sus, right?
That's right.
And then we have this little lick. Okay, and I'll tell you what, let's skip a little and just never mind how we got here, but what chord are we on at the end of that little phrase?
This is my chord here.
Okay, so yeah, I'm voicing it a little differently. And I don't know if you ever play this voicing, but mine is like D, F sharp, C sharp, and E.
Okay, so it's still all right.
Yeah. You know, my voicing is just a little darker. But that's a D major 7 or a D major 9.
Okay.
And then where are you going right from there, John?
So it goes to the it's that last melody again, but played in a different key. I think that's the right chord.
Yeah.
I could be wrong.
Yeah. So it's the same melody again, a whole step down. So we've heard that melody starting on C sharp, and then we've heard it starting on B.
So now it's starting on G, I think, right?
Nope, it's starting on A.
Starting on, I'm sorry, A.
Yeah. So the fact that we hear the same melody and then down a whole step and then down another whole step was just one of these little tricks in my mind that I thought I was so clever.
So it was purposefully written that way. Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I was very conscious about this kind of thing. And sometimes my struggle is sometimes to get out of my head and not always be thinking about, this kind of thing.
Yeah, sure.
But anyway, so we've gone, the very last time is we've gone, and here we are as that melody ends on another sus chord. This one is a C. Okay. So now we're doing a C sus or B flat over C. And then we're doing what is called planing. Planing is something we do a lot on guitar where we just take the exact same chord and don't move the shape of our left hand, but just slide it up, right?
Yeah.
And again, you've heard Steely Dan do that a lot, right?
Oh, yes.
Just move chromatically. And then we're on to D. And then we're on to E, sus again. The same chord as where the intro began, right? So we began on E sus.
Yeah, that's right.
We went to a whole bunch of different places in a short space of time, and then we ended up on E sus.
We sure did.
And why is that great? Or why is that
I don't know. I think it's awesome that we just ended up on the first chord that we started from.
Well, but think in terms of where is the next place we're going? What is this E?
We're going to A.
We're going to A. So it's a traditional resolution or a cadence, as they say in classical theory.
Yes. Right.
So 5 chord resolving finally to a 1. And so, if I had to say what really works about this intro is that it builds up a lot of tension and lives in the world of this very unresolved chord. And then finally, when we finally get to that A, it feels like, okay,
Yes, of course. Right. I think that's really the coolest part of the intro, is that it finally does go back to this.
Yeah.
Or it finally goes to this.
It was all built for that, right?
That's right.
So I guess we can move on and talk about the rest of the song. But do you have any more questions about the intro?
I really don't. I think we've gone over everything. I think everything else in the song is much, much easier.
I don't even, if people are still watching this video at this point, sitting through us talking for 30 minutes about the intro to Weird Dream.
Yeah, right.
If you're still watching, man, we really appreciate it. But so now we get on to the song and the verse and chorus. And I'll ask you again, John, what is this? Does it remind you of anything? Does it bring to mind any particular artists or other songs? Or,
I mean, it certainly brings to mind a time in my life where I had just moved back from California. I was starting to get into different music outside of what I consider was just heavy metal music.
So you started off as like your heavy metal was your first like big thing.
It sure was. It pretty
artists,
much moved me. What's that?
What artists in particular?
New Jersey's own The Misfits, Metallica. I swear, I think I learned how to play guitar from sitting there with VHS tapes, watching Metallica play over and over again.
Wow.
Rewinding Kurt Hammett solos and learning them. And it was just what I loved as an adolescent. It moved me through the first few years of playing. I didn't pick up a guitar until I was 15 or 16 years old.
Yeah.
Then I feel like I learned as much as I could from it, and I wanted to learn more.
Yeah. Well, I think that's personally, I never had a heavy metal phase. Like,
okay.
That was never something that was never a road that I really went down. I went down other roads, but I mean, I know many, many people who were way into it, and it really helped them as guitarists because, heavy metal is very guitar oriented and it's very writing oriented. And a lot of it has some real structured kind of melodies and chords that you can really learn a lot from.
And I feel like I really did. And I really, I enjoyed that music for quite some time until it just wasn't challenging to play anymore.
Right.
And again, it was almost like a very loud jam. Where else was there to go other than just to keep getting heavy? Then bands came around like Tool and Typo Negative, which kind of had to slow down heavy metal with these very low-tuned guitars and slower moving rhythms and stuff, and that was cool. And I feel like by that time I was ready to move on and venture into different avenues.
Sure.
So I feel like maybe I did it backwards. Maybe I should have learned how to play music and then maybe started to learn metal later on in my life, but it's just not how it happened. But
well, I mean, we all take these different paths, and that's what makes us unique. Shall we talk through just the chords on the verse and chorus, which are much simpler than the intro chords, right?
Sure. Yes.
We've got in the kitchen, someone's cooking. And how do you play that? How do you voice that? Do you play it the same as I do? Okay.
So I just basically play A, G, and D.
Yeah. So one thing that I do that is just a little bit different is I use the open A string of the guitar. And so I keep the A bass going underneath all three of those chords. So I'm playing.
Oh, right.
Right. Which is just a choice. Really.
Yeah.
It works fine the other way. I just like the idea of having the A bass all the way through this.
I like it. Yeah.
And then we do two lines like that. I'm sleeping till the sun goes down. When the clock strikes midnight, she'll be downtown. And I'm a crazy Cherokee. Now we've got something different, right?
That's right. And I think we both play it a little different.
The bass is going, I'm a crazy Cherokee, just like on TV. We're going to C major 7 to C sus, and then F. Just another soldier in your army, and then to E sus to bring us back to A. And that C chord is actually not a C major 7. It's a G over C, which is yet another Steely Dan thing, to not have the third, but to just have the root 5th major 7 and major 9.
Is this the voicing you're using?
Just take that G bass out of it, John, and make the C the bass. And yeah, you can put that high G on top too. Yeah.
Okay.
And then it's really easy to go from that to just take off your fingers and make the bar, right? And
Right.
then F major 7, however you want to voice it, it doesn't really matter. And then an E sus. And so that's that middle
Okay.
line. And by the way, you know, when I recently have been doing this a couple times with a loop pedal, I take out these chords. I just keep rolling right on the A, and that works too.
Yeah.
You know, it works fine.
Sure.
Because, you know, the loop pedal only works when you have a repeating section for a while, right?
Yes.
All right, so let's
unless you do several loops.
Yeah, I have a very simple loop pedal that is just one loop on.
I do as well. Right.
So let's finally go on to the chorus, right? And why don't you stay back? And there you go. You're on D, right?
Yes.
So we're going from A sus in the verses to D for the chorus. So again, just like the intro resolved from E sus to A, you could say that the verse resolves to D, right?
That's right.
We feel like we've arrived at a new place, right?
Yes.
And then we're going then we're going to do a pedal D bass where we, and I don't know if you play it this way, but I play a D bass all the way through this chorus. Stay back till the shoot it's over. And there's a C over D. No, other way around, right? Bass stays the same, chord changes. So just keep your open D string and move your chord up top from a D to a C.
So, okay.
No. Don't move that.
I'm just trying to get the notes in my. So D.
Yeah.
And then it would be C.
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm sorry. It's hard for me to see.
Okay.
Okay. So D.
Actually, I'm going to give you a different way to make that first D. Okay, an easier way.
Okay.
So open D string, right?
Yes.
And then on top of it, just put this triad. See where I am with the D. That's all.
Okay.
And now the second chord, take that and move it down a whole step while keeping the D string. Yeah. And then for the third chord, it's going to be G, but we're just going to do it like this. See my hand?
Yep.
And for the fourth, it's going to be G minor. So just like that. Yeah.
Okay.
That's easier, right?
Much easier.
Yeah. And I think back in the day, you know, I used to voice it all kinds of ways, but this is the way I do it now, and this to me sounds real sweet, you know. And just the triads over the D bass, right? And then finally, we're going to Close your eyes. As we talked about earlier, we're going to this F sus and E sus.
Yes.
And then
Now we're hitting it twice, correct?
Close your eyes. You can hit it as many times as you want. It's really a
Okay.
but then for Deep in Your Heavenly Garden, Deep in Your Heavenly, that's D minor, right? So you've got your first two notes, right? D and F, and then a C, and then an E on top. Yeah.
Oh yeah. Okay. Of course.
You use that voicing?
I do.
So that's the main minor 9. Deep in your heavenly garden, and then down to A minor or A minor 7 on the word garden. And then wake up, wake up, wake up, and ending on a D sus, right?
Yes.
Weird dreams. And then there's this little interlude here, which is just, yeah. So what's happening chordally on that little interlude?
It's A major, but sliding up like the half step, right?
Right. Yeah. But keeping the in the bass.
Right.
So again, you can do that with your A string, your open A string, just bring it down. So that's what adds the weirdness.
Yeah.
You know, we're going.
Well, speaking of weirdness, what lyrically, what is this? What was the song written about? Obviously, a weird dream, but what type of weird dream?
You know, it's really, it's. I wasn't sure if we'd talk about the lyrics in this video, but since you raised the question, I have to tell you, John, that I think it's, in Seinfeld terms, it's like a song about nothing.
Okay.
I think I just I had a vague image in my head of someone who was like living in a city, and he was maybe involved in some gang life or some drug dealing, or he was trying to get some action with his girlfriend. It was just like a slice of life or a vignette of someone in that situation, and it was really no deeper.
Sure.
And I think I was 22, when I wrote this, so I didn't have a lot of personal experience to draw on in my songs at that time.
Sure.
So I was just it's just pure imagination. That's all it is. It doesn't come from anything. It's not really about anything. It's just
okay.
It's just
sometimes those are what the best songs are about. So
yeah, no, I think if I had to really get specific about it, I think it's just about an imaginary scenario about a guy
sure.
Living in the city, and I was living in New York City at that time, and you live in a city of 10 million people, and you see people on the street and in the subway, and you wonder about what all these other people's lives are like that are not yours. So I guess maybe it was an attempt to sort of just think my way inside some other kind of life that was very different from mine,
I like it.
So that's it. That's Weird Dream, and do you have any other questions about it, or how to play it, or anything else?
My only question, and this is a very selfish question. I would just like to know on which date I will be playing this song with you guys on stage. I'm just going to write that down here. So I got my pen, so I'm waiting for that.
By the way, for anyone watching,
that's the only other question I have.
For anyone watching this video, and if you're anywhere near New Jersey, I would urge you to go out one of John Rango's performances. You do play out up there from time to time. He's made records under the band name Echo Fission, right? So those records are they out on Spotify or stuff out on YouTube or anything like that?
I would imagine they have to be somewhere. Maybe I'm sure they're on iTunes.
Okay.
I'm sure you could also look them up on YouTube. I'm sure they're all over YouTube.
But as far as your question about playing this with God's Rewind, it's well, first we need to see when live music can happen, and then we need to see about if God's Rewind is going to be playing any live music.
Fair enough. See, even more of a reason to not hesitate on having me play with you guys. Just God forbid global emergencies happen. I mean,
But there's also other stuff that we could play. Didn't you used to sometimes play Driving West?
I don't know. Maybe you, myself, and Aaron played it at a wedding.
Oh, okay. So you didn't do it with any of your bands?
I don't think so. I mean, we've done a lot of other songs, Gretchen and Nightingale and Feather, Borderline.
Right.
I
remember.
I know there's more that I'm missing.
Oh, I've lost your picture.
I'm sorry, somebody's trying to call me, but I'm going to delete that. They can wait. Sorry about that.
You also liked Firelight Flickers, one of our more recent songs.
Love that song.
I think
great song.
When you mention your heavy metal influence, I think Firelight Flickers has just like a teensy bit of that. Maybe, do you think?
I think so. It's best to. I'm trying to remember the riff in my head. I think maybe it was Aaron's guitar. I love that riff. The whole song is great. You said it was written about a cave. Is that right? Yes, that's right.
Yeah. That song was inspired by this Werner Herzog movie, Cave of Forgotten Dreams, about the cave paintings in France. It's really a great documentary. Well, John Rango, I really want to thank you for taking this time with us and for delving so deep into this one song, Weird Dream. And again, who knows if this video is of general interest, but if anyone's interested in Weird Dream, this video is certainly the place.
This is it. Yeah. And at this point, if anybody wants me to walk them through it, I get to go ahead and do that now.
Yeah. Well, I think you should play it with your band up in Jersey.
I would like to record the song since nobody else has ever done that.
Well, yeah, you have my blessing to do that. I would love to hear
that would be awesome.
And can you sing? Yeah. Can you sing it too, John? I haven't asked you to do that. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but
I think I'm pretty sure I could do it. I have done it, but I don't think I've ever done it in front of anyone, and I don't know if I would like to sing it on a recording. How about that?
You don't want.
Or if we play it live,
you don't want to sing it for us right now.
I think I would wait for that.
Okay.
Yes, if
That's,
you don't mind.
that's totally fine. All right. Well, do you have anything else to say before we go?
Um, thanks for watching. Thanks for having me. I enjoy your music. I always have. You know this, and I enjoy any opportunity that I get to go ahead and play music with you. It's always fun. It's always great.
All right. Well, thank you, John Rango, for your time and for your enthusiasm. And it's been fun. And of course, I will be talking to you soon.
Sounds great, man. Thank you.
See ya.
Bye.